So I'm going to hit refresh and show you the very beginning of it. And so it starts out this little storyline. And so the king is stuck. He's not able to get to the queen and everything. And they've captured the queen. And then it turns into this game. And it's kind of like the Mario theme of like rescue the princess, basically. Super, super cool. Like this and there. And then he's got him surrounded by knights here. And then the board turned to this little game. So I haven't beat it yet. I just found out about this today. But as you can see, you just walk up like this. I mean, is this not the coolest error page you've ever seen? So you gotta go around the pawns and everything. Super, super fun. This is the very first hard part, because you have to figure out that you want to go this way. But you know, if you want, we could just skip lesson and just do this the whole time. No, I'm kidding, of course. But so then it gets harder as you go up the board and everything. um, and then you can just be kind of a troll about it and like go backwards and get these pawns and everything. Yeah, but it's really, really fun. So you can try this out yourself. Right? I wonder if anyone can beat it on their first try. I haven't beat the whole thing yet. I do have a lesson plan for today, but I kind of want to see if I can beat this. How to win? A lot of free time on your hands is mainly the strategy that you want to use. But if you just get the king all the way to the other side, eventually, then I guess you win. The trickiest part is when you get to like the knight. There's this one moment where you have to like capture the bishop and then retreat by 3 squares. That's as far as I've gotten. Hold up, it's coming up. Also, the blue things, these are good for you. They're like little checkpoints. So if you lose, you just go back to the blue point. All right, I made it to bishop level. Anyone else make it to bishop level yet? Also, to make sure you register for the tournament if you have a chance. It's this one here. Super, super fun and everything. I'm gonna also be reviewing one of the games from the tournament, making a YouTube video out of it. So some extra incentive there. Uh-oh. Okay, here. I think I got out of this one okay. No. Okay, here. No. Wait. Whoo, that was close. I'm sorry. Do people joining still get access to the same links, or should I like repost the link? One thing that threw me off at first is the idea of capturing the pieces. Once you kind of get used to that, okay, this is the trickiest one. Check this out. So you got to go up, capture the bishop, and then run back to the dark squares. Yes. Okay, I might beat it here, guys. If you'd like to try this game yourself, you can do it. You can just gotta click in the link there. This might be my first time beating it. It's looking good. Like I said, I do have a lesson plan, but this is obviously the most important thing. Wait, how do I win? No. Whew, that was a close one. It's also really important that you get cocky and go backwards and capture pawns you don't need to. I think it's looking good. Wait a second. Oh, I think I got it. Oh my gosh. No. Oh, I was so close. The castle's right there and everything. All right. Well, I'm going to move on to lesson time. You guys are welcome to to lurk and just play that game on the side if you want. But I'm going to go over these really awesome concepts from this book, Silman's workbook. So it's a book I read when I was a teenager, and I use it now just to teach and everything. But this is one of the things that really fueled my love and passion for chess. And so by a show of hands, or I guess just comments in the chat box there, who's heard of this before? If you've heard of it, just say like yes or Y, or letter Y. I'm curious to see how many people have heard of this before. It's literally one of my favorite books, and one of the things that really just influenced my love for chess, maybe the most. And to sort of make sure that I'm not doing any sort of copyright infringement, I have to sort of plug the book here too. So in the flyer that I made that I attached in the comments here, cool, we got 2 yeses. I also made a little purchase link so you can go to Amazon and buy the book if you're interested. And then that's what we'll be doing. I'm just gonna cover the intro part of the book, and kind of do a read aloud, and then we're gonna do some puzzles with the theme of make a plan. And so that's one of the great things about chess. It's a great platform to try to trial and test out your plan making skills and everything, right? And so I think that in a lot of ways when I read chess books, it sort of fuels my problem solving skills with things outside of chess. And so I hope that sort of inspires you guys as well. I mean, there's so much you can get out of chess, and I'm just excited to do lesson time. And I hope we get some signups for this. It's a G10. And that's great because then you have some more time for planning. Anything less than this, you kind of just have to go off a gut instinct. But that's why I chose the G10, and so the link to that is going to be right over here. And then to enroll in the tournament, hey, cool! Look at this. We got 5 signups so far. You have to join the Ryan Time Chess Club, and then you can do that there. You don't have to compete in the whole event. I did make it pretty long. It's 3 hours. Obviously not required or anything, but that's way there's just plenty of games to potentially be looking at. And so then what I'm going to do is make a YouTube video out of it and just pick like the best one. I may go for like a brilliancy prize or biggest upset or just whatever catches my eye. And so that is the plan over there. So without further ado, let's kind of get into these different imbalances and test your guys' knowledge of them. So probably the hardest one to define, I guess, would be like initiative. Anyone want to offer a definition of what initiative means in chess? Yeah, that's part of it for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure how I would define it. I'm just actually going to look at his definition. But good input. Does someone else have an answer? Pushing for a result in a drawish position. No, that one's off the mark. Proactive. It has to do with that a little bit. Yeah, sure. The opening part of the game. No, it's not limited to opening. I guess oftentimes you do get the initiative kind of in the opening, but it could happen at any phase of the game. Has to do with tempo. Yep. This is what I mean. We're getting a lot of answers kind of all over the place. That's why I said this is probably the hardest one to define. All right, so he says his definition here is dictating the tempo of a game. Cool. So see, tempo is a key word, and then also forcing moves. Sure, yeah. And so how I like to think of it is basically you're attacking and you're developing the initiative and getting your guys out while attacking. So like, let me try it again. Basically, you're able to mobilize your forces, improve your army while making threats and kind of putting them on their back feet. He says this can also turn out to be a temporary imbalance. So I don't even know if I would say his definition of it is stellar himself, but he sort of connects this to the idea of being a temporary imbalance too. So I guess that is an important element of it, that it's dynamic. There's both dynamic and then static advantages, right? So dynamic is kind of like dynamite explodes and then it's over, whereas static is meant to be more of a lasting advantage. Initiative is certainly more of a temporary thing. Usually, yeah, that's another way to think about it. It's something that would justify a gambit for sure. And so that is going to be initiative. Some other ones in here are these over here, but let me just kind of leave it on this page while I read aloud to say what he has to see what he has to say about the first chapter of the book and kind of a crash course in the imbalances. So you're welcome to listen to me read this or play that silly game or twiddle your thumbs, but I want to read this out loud here for a second. Let me just find the first page here. All right, so an imbalance in chess denotes any difference in two respective positions. Of course, most players don't think about imbalances, they prefer to concentrate on attacking the enemy king. However, to think that the game of chess is solely devoted to checkmating the opposing king is much too simplistic. The correct way to play chess is to create an imbalance and try to build a situation in which it is favorable for you. An actual checkmate will follow once your opponent is helpless, or if the imbalances insist that an early kingside attack is the correct course. A deeper understanding of this statement shows that an imbalance is not necessarily an advantage. It is simply a difference. It is the player's responsibility to turn that difference into an advantage. And so that's one of the things that stuck with me after reading this several years ago, is that you create an imbalance and then you strategize and move your pieces in such a way that you highlight that imbalance in your favor. A study of this chapter should enable you to immediately make the most of each imbalance you create, as well as to allow you to look at the upcoming problems in a way that may not have been possible before digesting this information. And then he goes through these different imbalances there. If one side owns the bishop while the other has a knight, that's an important imbalance. If one side has a superior pawn structure while the opponent owns more space, then that too is an imbalance. You must always try and make your imbalance beat your opponent's. Whole plans can and should be created around this idea. In fact, these plans can often be found with little or no calculation. So he's got some different examples right here, and we're going to look at some ourselves. So to kick things off, we have this very first one here. This guy. This one over here. All right, so it's black to move here, and you got to decide if you want to capture with the pawn, with the bishop, or the rook. So for this one right here, it's kind of a good one to kick things off. So I'll give you guys a chance to answer it, and then the next two I'll probably just read the answers. I have 9 of these. 1 vote for the bishop, 2 votes for the bishop, 3 votes for the bishop. Oh my goodness, it's overwhelming for the bishop because it attacks the queen and everything. Okay. So the thing is, it's actually not bishops. You want to take with the pawn. And why do you think that might be the case? Rats. Defense to corner the bishop. It has to do with you're going to create the possibility of going pawn f4 later. That's very good. And then also it kind of goes back to this one right here. Control of a weak square. So as it turns out, that square e4 is so important that it's worth kind of weakening your king for a moment to be able to control it here. Because if you take with the bishop, then they're going to be able to block with their knight like this, and then their knight is on a great outpost right here. And so for that reason, you're going to run into some difficulty. So he gives the following reasons for justifying pawn takes. He says it keeps the white pieces off at e4, and then also his central pawns are now mobile, and so you can push them to e4 and f4. Additionally, the third reason that he provides is that it opens the g file, so later we can actually use this guy to attack the king. In the next one, let's take a look. We have like this here. All right, it is now white to move. Let's see here. You guys can take a guess at it first, or I can just read it to you. This one will take you a second. So why don't you guys take about like maybe 60 seconds? Oh no, I froze. And try to come up with a plan here. He just played pawn f5. What should you do now as white? And so unlike a tactical puzzle, you're not trying to win material. You're trying to use some of that knowledge about imbalances and strategy to try to position yourself really well. So this is not intended to be an easy one, and it should probably require you about 60 seconds, even if you're pretty good. So give it a go, see what you can come up with. White to move. I'm going to withhold feedback too for just now. All right, no one's got it yet. Take another like 60 seconds if you want. No one has suggested the right answer yet. All right, bishop g6. I think you meant bishop g5, and this is the right answer. Yes, you want to do this move. But let's go through some of the nice one, Akash. Let's go through some of the other ones that were suggested here. So rather than give feedback on those answers, let me just explain it in the way that he puts it here. First off, f5 was a great move by black. He said that according to theory, for quite a while, this was considered much better for white. But after black found the move f5, now it's considered to be much closer to just an equal position. And since the board is about to open up, it's in white's best interest to trade away the two bishops. You see, so it's not like a puzzle. You're not trying to win material. You're trying to think about these higher level types of strategies. Black has the two bishops, so if the board opens up, then you're going to be in trouble here as white. So it's actually a good time to sort of go here and then just aim for equality and just get the bishops off the board. The goal of this puzzle is to get to equality. What you don't want to do is you don't want to play here pawn to e5 because then they're going to go knight to e6. And then after you bring your bishop back, they go g5, and this looks really good actually for black. But let's look at some of the other answers here for a moment. If you go rook a to d1 like this, then captures, rook captures. Wait, no, you can't go rook captures because the knight's guarding there. So then if you take back like this, then you lose your bishop. So that would lose tactically. Another answer was bishop to d2. So kind of preemptively getting out of the way of the rook. This is probably fine. It looks safe. I just don't think it's going to be that great. Maybe after here and here, then this. Maybe like bishop to f5, kind of starting to get an initiative, going back to that concept, right? Developing with tempo. Because then what's the rook supposed to do? Go to like this square? You know? Then I guess maybe you could play this because now you're holding on to that pawn. And he can't take right here, but surely this must be better for black, and maybe they can continue by going here and attacking b2. So tactically sound, but positionally a little bit flawed. What else did we get here? E takes f5. Okay, so if you go this way here, aiming to do the check right afterwards. Well, they probably wouldn't take with the rook. They probably go with the bishop. And so in a lot of these lines, we're seeing that these bishops really kind of explode into activity, hence the rationale for trading away one of those bishops, as well as a bishop that's remained a target in these more tactical lines as well. Cool. Interesting stuff, right? You guys like these so far? Yes, cool, yay. Neat. All right, so white to move here. Yeah, cool. And I got them all queued up too, so I definitely I prefer my puzzles that aren't main three. Yeah. All right, white to move right here. What should he do? He says, okay, so after all these moves here, such and so, we reach a position that was once thought to be all right for black. However, a new move was unveiled that cut to the heart of the position and showed that white is actually clearly better. How would you play white here? Once again, for this one, it's intended to be pretty difficult, so I'll give you guys about 60 seconds. Good luck. Knight d2, bishop c2. Knight d2 looks like. Knight takes e4, bishop f4. So, kind of guide you guys a little bit here. A lot of you are sort of transfixed on kind of neutralizing the strength of these knights, and you're on the right track. But knight d2 is the wrong way to go about it. E6 is kind of out of left field. Yep, a6 is a good target for later, yeah. But these knights are too stinking good. Yeah, that's it. Knight to a2. That's the move. To which he gives a double exclam. Nice job, Jack Lee. So yeah, knight to a2, double exclam. So this idea of Anand's, who helped shorten his pre-match preparations for the Karpov match, showed that White considers the b4 knight much more important than his brother on e4. The reason is simple. The b4 knight is the main guardian of Black's weak points on a6, as mentioned a second ago, as well as c6 and d5. By trading it off, all of these sore spots become accentuated, and Black is suddenly placed on the defensive. So see, it's kind of neat, right? It's like going back to this idea of these weak squares. It's like, well, what do you mean by that? And I mean, well, it's the next level chess. It's the stuff that goes beyond just trying to use a knight fork to win a queen. Like, this is the strategy part. This is the stuff that made me really love chess. I really like that idea. Like, you're trading away this knight to weaken these squares specifically. How cool is that? So after right here, then it says the game continued pawn to c5, dx c5. And then after, and it says also that Fritz claims that knight takes b4 wins a clear pawn after rook takes here, and then bishop to c6. That's kind of a neat example, highlighting c6, d5, and also a6 all at the same time. After right here, then c takes, bishop takes, pawn a5, bishop to c3. And then, yeah, well, I mean, what a turn of events. Now all of a sudden the two knights are kind of just in the shadows, and one of them's gone, whereas these bishops are kind of coming to life and showing that White's got a really dominant position right here. Cool stuff. Let's see here some of the other answers we got. We got knight takes e4 a second ago. So I think that, I guess the whole reason for this is that now you don't have a chance to take out the b4 knight. And so, again, tactically that must be perfectly fine, but just not as good as using this knight to take out this one. Bishop to f4, I don't think that accomplishes a whole lot. I mean, you use the queen to kind of attack right here, but it's already well guarded by a couple of pieces. So it's just kind of a meh kind of a move. Doesn't do a whole lot. Knight to d2 was suggested a few times over, and this looks pretty good. I mean, my guess would be this is probably the second best move. I actually remember this position and being disappointed with what the engine said. It was a long time ago, but as far as I can recall, the engine did not necessarily agree with Silman's evaluation. So now I'm curious to see what it says. Let's check it out. This, by the way, is one of the top engines available, Stockfish 14. There's a lot of hype made for Alpha Zero, and I suspect that Alpha Zero is probably just considered a little bit better because it did better in a tournament against Stockfish. But I think overall, just for a club player's use, I think Stockfish 14 is still considered the superior option. Unfortunately, it does take a second to load, but okay, here we go. You see, so it kind of strips away some of the magic of his writing a little bit. So you want to try to do this sparingly, because it sort of says this is not a double exclam move. But who knows? Maybe on higher depth and everything, it would agree with it more. Knight a2. It doesn't love it at first, but maybe he's right. Maybe it's just sort of so deep that the computer can't even catch it yet. Okay, cool. It does like it the best now. But let's look at this one. Knight to d2. If you go right here, it's saying pawn to f5. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, right? You don't even get the chance to take out this knight because now it's going to be fortified by this guy. All right, we'll try not to use the computer too much today. Like I said, it sort of strips away some of the magic of chess authors' writings. All right, next one up here. In this one, he kind of compares two different things. So we have any questions, by the way, about that last one? You like someone's better than the computer, yeah. Yeah, let's see here. So knight e1, I suppose maybe the idea is you're kind of maybe getting ready for like f3 or f4. That also seems fitting. Does that answer your question? What do you think? Do you like knight a2 better though? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I would disagree. I do like knight a2 better than this move right here. I really like the explanation of weakening all these squares here, but the engine sort of shows that it's small differences potentially, so room for debate on there. Anywho, next one up we have is this one here, and so in this one he compares two different examples. He's got this position and this position, kind of highlighting this unique feature of a pawn on g5. We only got about 15 more minutes till we're going to kick off the tournament. If you haven't registered for it already, make sure that you do so. Like I said, I'll be highlighting one of these games played in the tournament on a YouTube video. Okay, we have this here. He says, what do the two following fairly well-known opening systems have in common? The answer lies in the meaning of black's pawn to g5 move. Oops, this is the next one. Pawn to g5 move here. And so what do we take from this here? And so I'm not sure if this is sort of, okay, it is supposed to be a bit of a puzzle, but it seems like one that it would be better just to walk you guys through it. So he says, what do you notice about the connection between both of these ideas? And what he says is it has to do with the e5 square. So this weird looking g5 move has everything to do with e5. He says in both cases, black is fighting to gain control of the e5 square and turn it into a permanent home for his pieces. Allow me to explain in more detail. During a lecture in Los Angeles where I would look at people's games and comment on them, I noticed that many members of the audience were able to recognize weak squares, but only if these weaknesses already existed. However, the idea of creating a weakness was alien to them. To illustrate the concept of creating such weaknesses, even in the opening, I offered the following example. So he gets to that position right over there. And so we have, is that a third example? Let's see here. Let's look at this one. So if we go here, he offers this example of creating a weakness. So here, c5. Here we have knight comes up this way, pawn d4, captures, pawn g6, c4. Anyone know what this, I guess it says it right there. Kind of nullifies the prompt, but this is called the Meroxybind Variation. So then here, bishop comes this way, bishop to e3, knight f6. This comes this way. And again, the context for this is he says during a lecture, he was trying to prove the point of the idea of creating a weakness. So let's see how he made his point here. This way, takes. We're going to grab what here? Queen comes back, and then knight comes here to e6, rook c1, queen a5, bishop d3, and then we have b6 and castles. So he said he would prefer instead the following move, pawn to f4, stopping the following maneuver. Because after castles, now they go pawn to g5. And what a move, right? Isn't that interesting? That is so not intuitive at all if you're playing black there. To move that pawn again, but to control e5 is kind of what it's all about here, I guess. He said most of the 60 or so players watching the lecture thought this was horrible, though a few liked the idea of starting an immediate attack against the white king. My first order of business was to explain that g5 actually had nothing to do with the attacking the king. Rather, black is fighting to gain absolute control over the e5 square. So how does doing so affect the e5 square? By stopping pawn to f4. White won't be able to use a pawn to chase away a black piece that decides to reside on e5. Thus, e5 becomes an important support point. Additionally, it's known that an artificial support point it can be called a manufactured weak square. Next, we're going to go here, queen to d2. After this, then we're looking at bishop b7. This comes this way, pawn d6. And let's see how he uses that weak square. Pawn to h5. Maybe some of that kingside attack idea does come up. There, rook to c here, and then we go bishop to d4. Also good is queen to e5, but it makes sense for black to exchange dark square bishops because white's bishop is one of the only pieces that can actually attack e5. Pawn to b4, now he goes queen to e5, and we're seeing an immediate difference right here in the control of the center. You know, this g5 move really count for something. Okay, I want to get to more of a puzzle-like thing, so let's switch over to this example. Pawn to, puzzle number 5 here. It's black to move. But yeah, to summarize that last one again, he was sort of oh yeah, good point. Again, it was the idea of creating a weakness, not just using one that already exists, but sort of fighting to create that square. Black to move, and this one's about equally as hard as the last couple, so I will be pretty impressed if you can come up with the answer. Great turnout today, and good participation in the chat too. Queen a5, pawn d5. So this one's a really awesome example, by the way. So one of the answers in the chat is correct. I won't say which one just yet. And if you like bonus points, you can give it like a couple more moves into your line. So you could say, you know, blank and then blank followed by blank. So more than just one move. About 15 more seconds. Cool, cool. All right, lots of thoughts. Okay, here's the first move. Queen b6. This is the right move here. So I mean, these ones are tough. These ones are tough, and like in all of these, the goal is not really to win material. Although in this one, I think you do. It's actually it's really astounding. Okay, so he says the kind of strange move that White's played, actually Queen d3, creates this interesting situation where there's a lot of flaws actually in his position. So here's his list. Moving the dark square bishop to g5 left the b2 pawn unprotected. Now also the bishop on h4 is unprotected. And so remember, all unprotected pieces should be noted, since this state of affair allows tactical operations against them. Additionally, the d4 pawn is under some pressure. It's called inadequately defended. And the c1 square doesn't have a defender, and the a1 doesn't have a defender. So check this maneuver out. We're going to go bam, bam, bam. I don't think anyone could take credit for seeing that idea in the chat. I saw somebody say queen b6. I don't think anyone saw this, right? But pretty amazing. Let's see how it shakes out. He goes right here. Instead of bowing to White's wishes, Black shocks his opponent by ignoring the illusionary enemy threat. The very fine queen b6 threatens to pick up the b pawn and the rook. It may be hard to accept, but this move actually wins by force. Wowza. Okay, pawn b3. He says instead, of course, if he were to play queen takes e4, we would go this way, followed by taking on a1, and that's going to be lights out. Instead here, after queen b3, we have this astounding move, queen to h6. What a maneuver. I mean, the only time I've seen something like this is in this exact puzzle. And then suddenly the bishop's on h4's lack of defense becomes an important factor, and also the following, coming down this way to c1. So he goes right here to defend the bishop. We go here, check, queen back this way, queen to b2, and then after right here, the finish is going to be just takes, knight takes, and then we go queen here. So in the end, we don't actually win the rook by force, but we force a winning position. We're up a clear pawn, and white doesn't have any, strong development to compensate for that. Pretty cool stuff. All right, we have time for pretty neat, right? Isn't that cool? Yeah. Queen h6. I know, right? Okay, we got time for a couple more here. Let's see what we got. I always like to come to lesson time prepared with more stuff than we could possibly fit into the allotted time. So I've done that same technique here. I've got a total of 4 more. We'll probably only look at maybe like 2 more. All right, after these moves right here, black had played the move c6 on his last turn. Is that a good idea? This one's probably the most straightforward, and I don't want to say the easiest, but kind of the easiest one. So I'm only going to give about 30 seconds on this one. Now, it's black to move here. It's white to move. Black's last move was pawn c6. So his open-ended prompt is evaluate that move. Good, bad, blunder, brilliant. What do you think? Queen a4. Not loving the queen a4 idea, but maybe there's something to that. No, if you go queen a4, probably bishop d7. All right, this is what he has to say about it. Yes, it's an excellent offer. In fact, white does best to refuse it by playing pawn to d4 here. If instead he were to take like this, now we take back with the knight, and this is a superior position for black. He says black gets a tremendous positional compensation for a sacrifice pawn. White's pawn on d2 is backward and weak, and the d4 square is owned by black, and all the black pieces will be very active. So we're seeing a pretty consistent theme in this one here of that main imbalance here we talked about, control of a weak square, right? And then it looks like someone's mic is still on. And so that's going to make just a huge difference. We're just going to control this d4 square. So yeah, if you're not making a comment, then maybe mute your mic so we kind of rule out some background noise there. So here we have a great position there, and then what's he say? Okay, he does have an example then of a 2 players game in the 2000 to 2100 range, and it play proceeds as follows. Here, knight to f3, e5. So he's making a case for the c6 move by demonstrating why it's bad to just capture that pawn. Here, this comes this way, and now we go pawn to e4. Black is trying to mash his opponent because he has more fighting units in play. Queen to e2, bishop here to g4, and then he says black continues to develop. He's not worried about the loss of another pawn because its capture signifies a further loss of time by white. So this is another good example of initiative now. Bringing in the pieces, making attacks, and kind of putting your opponent on their hind legs while making a bunch of progress yourself. Knight to d4. Okay, take here first. Takes here first, knight to d4. Queen comes this way. Now we go here, grabs. G grabs, queen takes, bishop takes f3, and this is looking highly pleasant for black now. But the material count is still in white's favor for the moment. And then a handy dandy move here though for black. We go here, still kind of gaining some more time. The pawn on e4 isn't going away anyway, so he did not take this guy. Right? If he took here, this would be a blunder because of the pin possibility later on the e file. So going here is a much, much better move. It connects the rooks here in a moment. The king's going to be safer, and also the rook's attacking this bishop. Now he brings this back, and knight takes e4, and black has consolidated and certainly has a nice advantage. He's got the two bishops and an open board, and both of these pawns are isolated. This one could also maybe be a target, and maybe even black can start attacking the king later with like a rook lift or something. So pretty exciting development there. We got time for one more. What do you guys think of these? You still digging them? You got any questions about that last one? +1, yeah. Well, he's not +1 there, right? Is it even material? We got another one here. How should black play this position? That's all you get. It's the only hint you got. Thumbs up. Okay. Yay, cool. All right, no hints or context on this one. The only thing you got to work with is it's black to move. What do you do? And yeah, give it 60 seconds. I'd say that queen b6 one was probably the hardest. This one's like somewhere in the middle. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you get registered for that tournament. Post the link in here one more time for this one right here. And then also the very, very important error page. If you haven't had a chance to play that, here's this one. We got one vote for knight h5, g5. Whoa, what are you doing with g5? They're going to take your pawn. h5, do you mean pawn h5 or knight h5? Excellent participation in the chat here. So he's saying maybe h6 and then g5. We got to vote for knight d5, pawn h5, pawn storm, castle followed by LOL. Great little confidence there. Knight e4, pawn d4. See, and this is what I mean. This is why these puzzles are so great, is because they really are tough, and you can really get a wide range of answers. You know, all sorts of stuff here. G6, slow play the storm. All right. Let's see here. Who guessed it? Knight h5 is the move. Who said that? Who gets credit? I think Prakash is the winner chicken dinner here. Knight to h5 is going to be the move. Nice job, Prakash. Yeah, nice one. All right. So then he says, black should take a moment away from normal development and grab the imbalance of the two bishops by knight h5. Since bishop to e5, pawn d6, knight to e1, d takes e5, queen takes h5, and then g6 favors the second player. The game here, after this, continued with the following moves. Rook to e1, then castles. See, castles not bad here. You just got to do it in a different move order. Here, knight to e5, castles. Here takes, and then now since he owns the 2 bishops, he opened up the board with the move pawn to c5. And that is going to do it for our lesson time, you guys, because we got this tournament starting. I had so much fun teaching this. I hope you guys learned a thing or two, and I'm really, really pleased with the turnout today. This was terrific. I will be posting this video on my my YouTube feed, and so you can watch that yourself again later too. If you like to send that to a friend, of course, you're encouraged to do so as well. And then let's see here. I guess I could also make a PDF of this. I'll probably do it right after I start my game. But yeah, get on over to the tournament lobby. We got 12 enrolled, so you guys are very, very welcome. Let's have a go at it. Wish you guys the best of luck. And then I guess I'll probably just mute my mic and then just play right here and leave my screen share going for a little bit. Play lots of chess, and I'll catch you guys later. Go like this here, and here. All right, I'm gonna stick around, play part of my game, and then mute my mic. See you guys. It's a bit unusual to play that right here. So I could go knight to e4, trying to kind of punish that straight away. I think probably knight here is good though. Let's just stick with some tried and true stuff. Now the question is, are they going to go pawn to c4 or not? We'll have to see. We'll have to see. They went that away. Let's see here. So I could do this. I could just do c6. Knight e4. I bet you knight e4 is good now, but I'm not entirely sure. I want to get this bishop out somehow. c5 is pretty darn aggressive. Pretty darn aggressive here. So is knight to e4. So I'm not feeling that inclined to play something so aggressive straight away. I kind of want to go with c6 or e6. I'm just going to get castled. I'm just going to go here and just castle.